The governor, outgoing governor, also made some very interesting remarks in respect to the election being a do or die affair. He reiterated that fact on national TV. The candidate of the Labour Party also challenged the reason why his other opponent didn't come for debates. There were talks about why the senator representing Edo Central, now the governor-elect, did not participate in any debates. There were a lot of people saying, oh, the former governor of the state, the former national leader of, national chairman rather of the APC, that's now senator representing Edo North, Senator Comrade Adams Oshiomhole, was the one speaking for the APC candidate. Even allegations of imposition by the governor in respect to the primaries of the PDP. The APC also had the issue. Remember, the deputy governor elect now was the one that won the original primaries of the APC. That's Honorable Dennis Idahosa. At the end of the day, the APC decided to zone the governorship ticket to Edo Central, and Dennis Idahosa did not come from Edo Central. So there was another primaries that produced now Senator Monday Okpebholo. The Labour Party also challenged, the primaries that brought in the former national president of the Labour Party, that's Olumide Akpata. The former national president of the NBA, that's Olumide Akpata. So all of the major political parties' primaries had court challenge on the outcome of the primaries. So some were able to close their ranks. I'm trying to build this narrative so that I have an idea of where the people in this conversation is coming in. Build up to the election, you look at the role of the outgoing governor in whatever it is that PDP felt befell them. His fallout with his deputy governor now decamped to the APC. Factor in him, WDP had the election to win, but they lost it themselves. So there was the APC conversation. People said the APC should not win an election in the country because of the situation of things. But the people that understand how politics works says every politics is local. So the people of Edo State can decide to ignore what is happening at the national level and vote for the APC at the state level, which was exactly what they did. Barrister Adams Atta would have this opportunity every 4 years to make these key political decisions. And when we make them, they have consequences. Good governance or bad governance. Good leadership or bad leadership. Now, let's look at the role of the people in electioneering in Nigeria. The people covers the political parties. They cover the umpires in the election, INEC, security agencies, ad hoc staff, everyone involved. Lead us into that conversation. If we want to have a credible election in this country, how can you and I, that are supposed to be the people, play major roles in this decision making?
Well, for us to have a free and fair election, we must acknowledge the provisions of the Constitution, which puts the burden exclusive on INEC, which is the primary body that is saddled with the responsibility of ensuring that a free and fair election is conducted all over the federation, and more so that the burden to conduct election is exclusively reserved for INEC. There is no any other body competing with INEC. Every other bodies are subordinates. You and I, the judiciary, the Nigerian police force, other security personnel, they are there as an embodiment, which in other words can be described as an all-inclusive package. It's not a one-way traffic. The burden is not exclusively reserved for INEC alone. It is an all-inclusive package. You and I, every other person, the political parties, the civil society, associations, NGOs of all bodies, the press, because the press has a major chunk, because most of the manifestos, most of the presentation, most of the campaign, they are going to come via the social media, the press, Arise TV, different species of media platforms. So everybody is very, very important. I rate them 100 over 100 for the purpose of us having a free and fair election. And then more importantly, that by the provisions of the Constitution and then the law establishing INEC, Section 2 of the Electoral Act, INEC is supposed to stay independent. It's not supposed to have a feeling or to put a kind of a slight impression that people will feel that INEC is playing alongside with a political party. It's not good and hygienic for the growth of our democracy in this part of the world. So in other words, Everybody is very, very necessary and important for the growth of our democracy and for a free and fair election in Nigeria. We can't do without another person. Awareness, we continue to educate people on their social right, on their civic right, is very, very important for people to know that their vote is very, very important, and the need for them to know that whichever decision they make today is going to affect them otherwise tomorrow, like what we are facing all over the federation now. People are regretting voting a particular party at the federal level. So it does not foreclose the fact that once a party is bad at the federal level, does mean that same party, individuals in the state level cannot perform. We are seeing some states that are operating under APC, they are doing better than some states that are currently the governors are PDP. So we cannot prejudge people, or we use a criterion at the federal level to judge at the state level. So I want people to have that open impression that we should judge people on individual basis.
I mean, thank you. And I like the fact that you understand the perspective I want the conversation today to follow. Now, we have a system where certain individuals, display some level of power that makes them look more powerful than institutions of government. The role of INEC, the role of the judiciary, the political parties, the stakeholders, the media, the interest groups, the pressure groups, the students, the voters, the market women, the youth leaders. Everyone has major roles to play in all of this. But the conversation around forming these decisions is also key, Barrister Adams Atta. So how do we drive the conversation of making the right political decisions, especially in a system where poverty has been badly weaponized? And this is what I mean. A tuber of yam that goes for maybe 4,000 can barely feed a family of 4 on a single meal. Bread is now 2,000 plus for the people that consumes bread. How much is a bag of rice? How much is a cup of beans? How much is a mudu of gari? I mean, these are basic commodities. So everything seems to have gone on the other way around. So the people are starving. The people are hungry. I was talking to my friend Juliet, she works with NTA Benin, and she said, those of us that came in from Lagos and we don't know anything, that we should wait till after the election. That's when we know how much money was spent in the Edo election. That when people start going to the market to buy new phones, people start buying food in their house, that's why you know how much people made in this recently concluded election. Barrister Adams Atta, how do you make me decide who to vote for objectively in the face of hunger? How do I make political decisions that are correct, based on competence, based on credibility and capability of that individual to deliver, and not necessarily on the fact that, this person gave me 5,000 naira, 10,000, 50,000, and I'm going to vote for him? How do you make objective political decisions in a system where you have weaponized level of poverty? How do you drive that conversation home?
Let me start by saying that that poverty that people are experiencing currently in Nigeria is even a move, is even an intention to show that this government is really inflicting hardship on Nigerians. Why do I need to vote for them? Because a lot of people have been creating awareness at the federal level, at the state level, both at the local level. And then for that, people should know that these people don't have good intention for you and I. And that is the more reason you should vote them out. Because if you compare and contrast what we are experiencing now vis-a-vis what was on board as at 16 years ago, you will agree with me that the government then is more better. And that's why a lot of Nigerians are coming out to apologize to the then president for voting against the PDP, People Democratic Party. I'm not saying they're perfect, because these same people continue to recycle themselves and then come in different ways. Because the people you see in APC today, they are still the same people. They are offshoots of the same people from PDP. So by all standard, all these things, in specific response to your question, I want to say that for you to know and to determine whether you are to vote for the right person, I think it borders on the conscience of your person. You need to look inward and say, 10,000 cannot really cater for me and my family in a day. So why do I need to sell my votes? Because I really cannot relate how the vote buying can feed Nigerians even in 2 or 3 hours. Because assuming you collect 10,000 to sell out your right now, which is your constitutional right, assuming you collect that token of money or 20,000 or 50,000, it will not even last you, because you have a pending assignment and issues that you are going to attend to, and the price on a daily basis continue to skyrocket. So I literally do not agree with people that come out to sell their rights, their constitutional right for politicians to come and milk the system, because these people will come out and then dish out dollars, millions to Nigerians, and then at the end of the day they will go there and not do anything. Corruption is the order of the day. They are not concerned about the welfareism of Nigerians. How on earth? So those people selling their constitutional rights, their votes, I sympathize with them, because in as much as we continue like this, the system will continue to decay. The rule of law and respect for considered authority will continue to go on a low percentage.
Now, this conversation is taking twofold. Now, we have the people's role in a proper election. Then we have the law part of it. But if you say the people should not vote based on whatever it is that was given to them, maybe they were mobilized or incentive was given to them, they shouldn't make that decision. You and I can stay here, Barrister Adams-Atta, and talk about, oh, well, we're a little elite, we're a little exposed, or we understand how these things work. But for someone in the rural area that does not even see the impact of government at any level, that communities in this know that. How many houses in Lagos have pipe-borne water, government water? How many? These are the questions. But let's even move away from Lagos. Let's go to places like Kafanchan, for instance. Let's go to places like Tuluwada in Kano, for instance. Let's go to places like it's coming. Some of them even see them from the posters. You go to communities in this country and then you see posters of 2019 still there in 2023. That is the closest they can get to their representatives. How do you make such people make political choices based on what they think those individuals can do? Individuals that they did not even know, they didn't hear them campaign. Most of those even make these right choices. We are basically a reflection of the political decisions that we make. But how do we drive this conversation home, especially to the grassroots where the numbers always come from?
And that is why some of us have been advocating for awareness, because education and awareness is very, very important. Because if not, some of these people they don't even know the candidates. So it's very, very important for INEC and for individuals, for people and the political parties to sell their candidates, because the law allows for that. Because I literally do not agree with a community that they don't even know a candidate. You don't know about his integrity. You don't know how competent the person is. You are voting along line of parties. Where is it done? Because you feel that APC is a governor. Because if you look at the recent election held in Kwara State over the weekend, you agree with me that the ruling party in that state won.
Declared all the local governments, all the wards.
Can you describe that as an election? An election that does not.
All the 178 councillorship was cleared by the APC.
Okay, you see the point I'm making, because apparently people are voting alongside loyalty to the sitting governor and Mr. President.
How do you separate them?
So that is the point I'm making. Awareness is very, very important. We continue to educate people. We continue to take politics down to the grassroots, because politics start from the grassroots. It's very, very important for us to acknowledge and recognize that fact, because if assuming our people at the grassroots, they are doing well, forget about the fact that you are paying double of the rent and other fees in the city. Bad. They are both. Some of us that are in the city, that are pursuing to be in the city. Some of us who are educated, we must continue to educate our people at the grassroots for them to be well abreast and equipped with what is trending. A lot of things is trending, and if we get it right, both at the grassroots or in the city, is going to have a reflection otherwise in the system. Nobody is going to be exonerated. Nobody.
I'm tempted to take this conversation up a little, and this is what I mean. Barrister Adams-Atta, INEC said almost at the end of the 2023 11 million people, the total number from the President Tinubu's less than 9 million to Labour Party and PDP 6.1 and 6.8 and the other political parties, the entire vote was not even up to 25 million people. That is clear case of voter apathy. The governorship election that was conducted in Edo State on Saturday, the registered voters was 2,610,794. 2,610,000 registered voters. At the end of the day, only 604,000 were accredited for either election. That means over 2 million stayed away from that election. And out of the 604, less than 600,000 people actually cast their vote. So, if you say what happens at the city usually reflects at the local government or at the rural areas, how do you now take the message down to them in terms of involvement in politics? I've had the opportunity of monitoring elections to some really interesting places in this country, and I'm talking about some of the really untouched virgin areas in this country where there are literally no roads in those places, but somehow election materials get to those places when they need the numbers to come out of those places. So how do the people of those areas, let me use the word less privileged when it comes to election decisions now, right? Some of them are depending on what their children in the city are saying about which candidates. Some of them are depending on what their religious leaders are saying about which candidates. Some of them are depending on what their market union leaders are saying about which candidates. But some of those influencers have been polarized. Some of them have actually been compromised. So the people that are taking their judgment don't exactly know how they arrive at those judgments. So how do we reach those people, those vulnerable people, when it comes to making political decisions and influence them in knowing how to make the right decisions? That is exactly what I want us to talk about. How do we reach out to those people?
Well, awareness is very, very important, because it's the responsibility of INEC and the government to ensure that people are aware. You continue to educate people on their rights, because their votes are part and parcel of the system. You cannot sideline them, whether they're in the remote area, whichever part of the world they are, or whichever part of the country or the states they are. Because if you look at the election recently held in Edo State, which is the litmus test recently, you agree with me that most of the election material got to some centers very late. So you see all these things, logistic, talk, politicians hijacking the system, a lot of factors contribute to the lacunas that we're experiencing in the system. And that is why we're up to almost about more than 20 years we are still yet to be there. We are still in the system trying to get it right. I don't know, but it's getting worse on a daily basis. So for me, I think awareness, we continue to educate people, we continue to create that awareness, we continue to create that atmosphere. More NGO need to spring up and take responsibility of this, because the government, in their usual way, they are biased. Because the sitting government will always want to influence their presence around that environment. They'll go far through those districts you have mentioned, far to the grassroots. They'll go there and try to entice them, vote buying directly or indirectly. They will go there and then try as much as possible towards the election period to execute one or two projects. Whereas after that they will disappear. Build 2 or 3 boreholes. I've seen it.
Some of those balls will not even pump out water.
Yes, we have seen it. We have seen it on social media where a politician tried to commission a borehole
and the thing did not pump out water. God
arrested him to show how bad the system is. He's not even concerned. They just give out projects. They don't even come to monitor it. It's God that wanted to arrest him that day, and he was disgraced publicly. So the point I'm making is that we need to know that even those people should wise up. How long are we going to continue to educate them? But continuous education is fine and fair. But when you see that somebody is not doing well,
you don't need to be told to vote the person out.
Once hunger take up on you, you should know that these people are not good for the system. These people are just here to milk the system. and it's unacceptable. So for me, I think Nigerians should wise up. Look at the rate. People are even beginning to lose interest in the system. Look at the statistic you just gave now for a dual election. You see that
those elections gave 25.5%.
About 2 million people stay away from the election. How will you correlate that? I think the court system now, out of the numbers I've registered, they should have a quorum, but they should have a percentage that can turn up
before an election is valid.
Yes, I think I'm recommending that for the system, so that you cannot describe that as an election. It's just that we don't have money to continue to conduct an election, because for each of an election we are spending running to billions.
Let me hold your thought. Can you break that down a bit?
If
for 100%,
25% cannot for me. 25% cannot for something of 100%, and then you make 25%, and then you make that declaration. I don't think it fits in. So the point I'm making is simplicity, and I'm recommending to our government, to our National Assembly, and to the government in simplicity, is that we should have a stipulation that
maybe like if less than 50% don't come out to vote, the election is not valid.
Yes, per se, because we need to make people to realize that they are part and parcel of the system. Otherwise, the rate at voters' apathy will continue to spark up. The rate at which people will continue to retire to come out and exercise their constitutional right, it will continue to skyrocket on a daily basis. You agree with me that the election that was held in Lagos State middle of this year, thereabouts, or before that time,
that's the by-election. There was one for Sūrùlérè, one further constituency.
I don't even think any other party contested it alongside the APC.
I monitored that election, and sorry to cut you. I was at the collation center till myself and a few of our colleagues, were there till around 11 p.m. or thereabouts. And an election that was almost a one-way election. The APC, that's Honorable Fᴜᴜᴜ won the election landslide. I think the closest to him, which was PDP, had less than 2,000 votes, and it took them till 11 p.m. before they eventually declared the winner. So you just raised a really important conversation that we can open up. 50% should be the benchmark. Any election that has 25% involvement or percentage in terms of people turning out should be invalid. But again, let me ask you, would that work? Do you think these people will not find a ways to still bypass the system and get the numbers up? It's not like you do head count to ascertain whether those people came out. It's just about the numbers that you collect, right?
Yes, because if you look at, for example, now you look at the dual election. Is that not a slap? Is that not an assassin of democracy?
It is.
Because how will you correlate it? Who are you going to tell that international observers, they came to observe that election, and then out of 2-point-something million, about 2 million failed to come out to exercise their constitutional right? What is going to be their report? What is going to be their report? How can you correlate that? Where you have a quorum of 5 to 7 people, and then 2 people turn up, can you now say that you can proceed? You can proceed over the committee that you are saddled with the responsibility to oversee? For me, if not that to have a rerun or to slate for another election is pretty expensive, left for me, I'm very radical about it, because we must. And of a matter of fact, and of a matter of truth, and of a matter of productivity, and to give back what belongs to the people, because the whole essence of democracy is to ensure that people have the constitutional right to come out and vote their leaders, not what we're experiencing where people are voted and then overnight. Because I told a friend 3 days ago on Friday, I said, the real election, based on my experience, will be done at night, not what you will see in the daytime, people coming out to exercise that. And it was overnight, because what INEC uploaded on their portal is different from the results that came out and declared on Sunday. So how can you correlate that? Was it not a night shenanigans? How best can you describe that kind of moribund and overnight activities? Well, it's not in my jurisdiction.
Yes,
it's not in my jurisdiction to to admit or to discredit. Every other thing I'm saying now is based on what is we have seen.
Now let's go to your jurisdiction, which is mobilization and all of that. Let's talk about your own jurisdiction, which is the law. And people have always talked about the nature of the judiciary and the body language of the judiciary to election in this country. Barrister Adams Atta, when the judgment for the presidential election petition tribunal was supposed to be made on the 6th of September last year, the entire country understood the pressure of the judiciary was under. Justice Mary Odili, the chairman of body of benchers, had to address, the media and say, you know what, whatever happens at the tribunal should be accepted as same. There were billboards across the country saying the tribunal is this, the petition tribunal, questions were raised. To the point that even the movement of the then Chief Justice of the Federation, now retired Justice Aruola, was being monitored. Oh, some people said they had a meeting with the president-elect then, or the then president in France. Oh, some people said it was this, it was that. Judiciary was under heavy pressure. And then the judgment was delivered and upheld the election of the president. And people went against in fact, some judges, some members of the tribunal had their phone numbers and pictures of their family members posted on social media. That was how much the judiciary was under pressure. And because events leading to that, I've had a lot of mixed feelings with let's talk about the role of the build up to the elections, court invalidating a primary, maybe a faction did a primary, then after the election, people would win the numbers, but courts would strike out a candidate on technicality or technical ground. Oh, this person did not do this. Oh, the primaries that produced this candidate did not. How do you think the judiciary would help in further making sure that our elections are valid? Because when it comes to election in this country, except it favors you, that's when you trust the judiciary. If it doesn't, the people will say, oh, the judiciary have been compromised. How do we make the judiciary accountable when it comes to giving us credibility on matters that have been brought before it?
Well, the provisions of the Constitution, Section 6 of the 1999 Constitution, puts the burden on the judiciary to ensure that disputes between individuals, governments, corporate entities are well settled, and by so doing, it is incumbent on the judiciary to ensure that a level playing ground is put on board, so that none of the parties will be deprived of justice, because justice is not one-way traffic. Justice is an all-inclusive package. It's for you, it's for the state, it's for the government, it's for everybody. So you cannot, because I have noticed Nigerians, once justice does not favor them,
it's been bought.
They will describe it. But if it's a reverse, for example, now the Edo situation now, if it's PDP that won now, it will be described as a free and fair election. For APC, it's a free and fair election. So if it's PDP now, the reverse will be the case. In as much as the election was marked with fraud and a lot of loopholes, I don't want to delve into that, but I want us to admit that the judiciary is part and parcel of the growth of our democracy in Nigeria, because once a pronouncement is made in the court, it becomes a precedent. Subsequently, particularly that if the matter are proceeded to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court have made a pronouncement, it becomes a binding precedent on every other court underneath the Supreme Court. So it's very, very important, whichever classes of the court you are, either the tribunal, either the Court of Appeal, either the Supreme Court, which is the apex court, because appeal after the Supreme Court goes to God in heaven and his cabinet. So whether you like it or not, whatever that comes out of the Supreme Court
is supreme.
And that's why it's branded the Supreme Court, because the supremacy of that court
cannot be questioned.
Well, I've seen a situation before I was born, wherein a lawyer goes to court, senior members of the bar, they goes to court and asks the Supreme Court, look at this decision you have made, look at this decision, you need to have everything, but you will still go back to that court. You are not going to another court to question the integrity of that court. You are just going to tell somebody, but the senior member of the bar tried to do it recently and then he was slammed a heavy course. He went back to the Supreme Court to have a pretty interpretation, another interpretation of their decision. and then he was slammed a court for an abuse of court process. Let me narrow it down to your question now. You have said, how can the judiciary contribute to the growth of our democracy and election system in Nigeria? The judiciary play a very pivotal role as to the growth of our election in Nigeria, and that is why it is important for the court, for the composition of a tribunal, the court, the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeal, for them to ensure that they put a competent hand there, and people who cannot be easily influenced. I don't know where we are going to get them from. It's unfortunate, it's so disheartening that the decision making of the judiciary of late is I don't want to best describe, I don't know how to put it, but is otherwise. I cannot, because anything that come out from the mouth of the court, it becomes a law, whether we like it or not. So we are only praying that parties should be given opportunity to present their case. No judicial bias should set in. No level of corruption should set in. We should put competent people there. But the issue is that in as much as the judiciary reports to the executive,
is that not still a problem?
We'll continue to be in this lacuna, and I don't know how we're going to get it right soonest.
They say who pays the piper dictates the tune. And I remember when at the valedictory sitting of the immediate past CJN, one of the things that now retired Justice Arola raised was the fact that there are always a lot of pressure coming up to most of the courts, that some of these courts some of the cases that comes to these courts should have been settled. Some of them should even have ADRs, that's alternative dispute resolutions on them and all of that. Do you also subscribe to the school of thought that think we should have special courts to handle electoral issues in this country? And let me ask you why. A governor wins an election declared by INEC, right? He gets sworn in, enjoys everything that comes with his office, appoint his cabinet, his aide, his commissioners, move to the government house, is already living the life of luxury that Nigerian governors live. Then Vola, his opponent at the election, went to court to challenge the legitimacy of his election, and on valid grounds, well substantiated, is thrown out, and his victory was cancelled. So imagine how much of taxpayers' monies that governor must have spent in the period he was in office as governor. So we have situations where judgments from the High Court goes to the Appeal Court, goes to the Supreme Court, and it takes a lot of time. What do you make of that school of thought that think we should have special courts that handles election matters only? Do you subscribe to that school of thought, Barrister Adams Atta?
Well, it's not just having that another separate court to oversee and then handle election matters. What is important is having competent people to handle it. Because once during the election period, the tribunal will be set up. For that purpose is a special court. For that purpose. So you don't need to go and branch another court differently for that purpose, because different competent hand are being handpicked from different states of the federation to come and pilot the affairs of that particular matter. So it's not by you going to build one particular building and then put funds, taxpayers' money there or something otherwise. But what is important is whether these people are competent enough, they are dogged, they can stand firm, they are not afraid of their job description. But the issue we have in this part of the world is that, look at the case of Donald Trump. Look at the case of the current president of the United States now, his
Joe
son.
Biden.
The son is
Yes.
So you see that they can't even influence the composition of the judiciary, despite the fact that Donald Trump is busy out there talking recklessly, insulting the integrity and the composition of the court. They are not even disturbed. They are not even bothered. They go ahead to make their pronouncement. The reverse is the case in this part of the world. You will recall that the current president, at a point during the then president, President Jonathan, then when the current president was arraigned, these are facts.
By the Code of Conduct Bureau.
You need to see the numbers of lawyers he floored the court with to put fear in the composition of the court. So Well, the constitution allow him to come with as many attorney he wants to, but what is important is how many of them are going to talk at that particular day. Do you need to floor the court with that? If not, an African mentality per se. Let me not delve into that because it's bygone, but the fact is there. So the point I'm making is that you need not go and create another special court because the tribunal for that purpose, they are special courts. They are set up pursuant to the provisions of the constitution. They are special courts.
But they don't end the process. Tribunal gives the judgment, and then the people disagree with the tribunal, and then they go to appeal. From appeal, they go to the Supreme Court.
Even that is a panel. The Supreme Court, they will set up a panel.
Yes, I know.
And for that period, the panel will not sit on other matters. Yes, for that period, that's what is important. So you are not going to agree, because even the Electoral Act have stipulated the period upon which matters should be at the tribunal, matters should be at the Court of Appeal, and then the Supreme Court. It has been narrowed down. It's not like the normal conventional
where people
cases,
spend almost 2 years,
2 to 3 years. So within before 6 months, all these matters are completed. So whether or not you are there. You are there as a matter of the provisions of the constitution, or by default you were announced, or you rig your way into the system will reveal. Evidence before the tribunal will reveal. Both at the tribunal, both at the Court of Appeal, and then the Supreme Court. So I literally do not agree with going to set up another court. What I'm really bothered about is that because the system is now is exclusively reserved to favor, the judiciary is now becoming the judiciary of the politicians, which I literally do not agree with. How individuals will have their matters in the court, both at the trial court, which is the high court, the Court of Appeal, even the Supreme Court, for 4 to 5 years. They will not have a date for hearing of their appeals, whereas the matter that borders on politicians,
justice is quickly dispensed
with in a short period of time on election matters. I agree that the election matters, but the purpose of the provisions of Section 6 is not exclusive of the Constitution. It's not exclusively reserved for the benefit of individuals. It is all inclusive. It's an embodiment of a whole package. You and I, every other person, whether you are insane, whether you are a mad person, whether you are a prostitute, whether you are a politician, whether you are a pastor, whether you are an imam,
it captures everybody.
Yes, everybody, whether you are a company, justice should be dispensed on time. Some people have said that justice rush, justice crash. But how can you determine for a matter that have lingered for 5 to 6 years?
But people also say justice delayed is justice denied.
Yes, that's the reverse part of it. So in this sense, we are saying that an enabling atmosphere should be put on board to ensure that matters are dispensed with on time, not that electoral matters or matters that bother some politicians are being dispensed with within 3 to 4 months, and then whereas individual individual case is there just at the trial court.
In case you're just tuning in, as you're wondering who is speaking, my guest has been Barrister Adams Atta. He's a legal practitioner, human resource manager, is a public affairs analyst, and then on the show today we're just looking at the fundamental challenges of electioneering in Nigeria: the people or the law. And it looks like both parts of the conversation are culprits. Everybody works together, because the law is just letters. Implementation of it is what makes it the law, and it is the people that implement the law. So you can't separate these individuals, or you can't separate both conversation from having a proper election. But Barrister Adams Atta, when the Electoral Act 2022 was signed into law by the then president Muhammadu Buhari, there were a lot of excitement as a build up to the 2023 election. The IRF, for instance, I knew laws brought into the election, the time frame for judgment, whether at the tribunal, the appeal court, the Supreme Court in case of governors and presidents, the appeal in case of houses of assembly or the National Assembly. These were a lot of issues that the people were excited about, and they went into the election of 2023. You go through the Electoral Act again. I'm sure a lot of Nigerians didn't go through it at that time, because there was huge pressure on then president to sign. In fact, Serap took the then president to court, because I think he signed it on the last day because there's a time frame with which you have to sign before the election. I think the president signed on the last day of that deadline. I mean, there were a lot of issues around it. Do we need more reforms in our elections, or you think it's about implementing the ones that we have on ground?
Let's even start from implementation, because we have a lot of laws that regulate the system. We have a lot of laws in this country.
So we have enough?
Yes. Let's even start enforcing what we have. It's not by how you have them, but how beautiful are you using them is very important. You can have plenty, and then somebody that just have exclusive, just one, he can do it exceedingly more than you. So I literally do not agree on this amendment. For example, now we don't even know whether we're using beavers. The court is having a different interpretation. You go to Enugu, it will give a particular interpretation. You say you go to Kanu and then give an interpretation and say that overvoting is like this is going to have.
How do you decide overvoting when the cards?
It will have a particular effect on the election. It will go to another jurisdiction and then interpret it otherwise. I don't know the mode of interpretation that our court they are now adopting. We have series of interpretation of law. We have the literal interpretation. We have the golden interpretation. We have the mischief interpretation,
and the actual interpretation.
So, in other words, I'm advocating for. Because the golden and the other classes of interpretation will set in where the literal interpretation will lead otherwise. So you need to use your reasoning, subjective reasoning at that particular time to have a particular interpretation. I'm just advocating that we should try, the judiciary should try as much as possible to have a specific interpretation and have a template so that this law can be a layman on the streets. We know as a matter of fact that assuming this one of the party alleged overvoting, and then indeed overvoting is established, because we have seen it wherein in a particular state, in a particular local government, about 100,000 people are accredited voters, or 50,000 people are accredited voters, and then a particular party is bringing
61,000,
is bringing about 100,000. Double of that, and then they went to court. The court now said the adverse party cannot allege, cannot prove. So that burden of proof, the court needs to define it. How will you? Because the court is often hiding on that statement. They have failed to discharge the burden of proof on them since they have raised allegation of forgery or allegation of fraud thereabout. Because in a civil matter wherein an allegation of fraud is being raised, the burden is incumbent on that party that raised that allegation of fraud
to prove it
beyond reasonable doubt. So that is how it is.
Thank you very much. It's the Situation Room live on Mainland 98.3 FM. Barrister Adams Atana have been looking at the intricacies of electioneering in Nigeria, the major challenges that we have. Is it the law or the people? And Barrister Adams Atana said, you know what? We don't even need to start talking of making new laws or reforming the laws. Let us implement the one that we have on ground, so that, when we actualize the intentions of these laws, then we can figure out where we're going next. We'll take our first break by 5 o'clock. It's just for a few minutes. Take deadline news and also quickly pay some bills, and then when we come back, your messages on Facebook are really piling up. Or you can actually join the conversation on 0913-600-0410. Those are the numbers to call. 0913-600-0430. Text messages only. 0913-600-0410 for calls. Barrister Adams Atana is still here. When I come back from deadline news, we'll go straight up into your calls and your feedback. We're looking at it, and then the fulcrum of the conversation today is on implementing decency in our elections, so that the voices of the people that they made via the choices on the ballots would reflect. We don't have issues in our elections. We need to make progress. 64 years in a few days. We should not be concerned about elections in this country anymore. We should be talking about major development and non-electionary issues. We'll come back on the turn of 5. I'll pick your calls and also read your messages. Stick with us. It's Mainland 98.3 FM.
Headline News on 98.3 Mainland FM.
Good evening. Headline News on Mainland 98.3 FM. My name is Omobola Sandra. Act swiftly to address economic hardship, WG urges Tinubu. Justice Binta Nyako announces withdrawal from Nnamdi Kanu's trial. CBN raises interest rate to 27.25%. On the foreign scene, Israel and Hezbollah escalate attacks after over 490 reported dead in airstrikes in Lebanon. In sports, Zidane's son Enzo retires from football at 29. US Open champion Sabalenka eyes number 1 ranking. That's the headline news on Mainland FM. Details at 5:30.
You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. Sound of Lagos. Guys, you need to check your NIN status. I cannot say this enough because the next batch of barring will start again soon. I know some of us have submitted our NIN multiple times, but your NIN has not been linked to your lines. Either because your picture on the MTN portal might be different from the one on your NIMC portal, or you got married and changed your name, or another person registered your line for you when you bought it, or you mistakenly used the wrong date of birth, and many other reasons. But don't worry, MTN has made it easier to link your NIN in just 2 minutes from the comfort of your home, office, or while you are on the move. No need to visit MTN office and join the queue. If you use a smartphone, you can visit nin.mtn.ng or dial *996*4# on your MTN line. Just follow the instruction and you are done in under 2 minutes. Remember, barring will start again very soon. Link your NIN to avoid stories that touch. MTN, what are we doing today?
Hello, Twe. Hey, you just win 5,000 naira cash, and you wey sit down for corner. 1 month Showmax subscription to watch Premier League. They wait for you, and you for back. No fear, you sef dey inside am. How 1,000 naira airtime and 2,000 naira Uber discount sound for your ear? All these things fit happen if you buy no unwrap and win pack. Tear am open, find cube wey get 6-digit code for wrapper, send the code go 8011 and follow wetin dem tell you, and you fit win any of these ogbonge prizes. This promo go dey from July go reach December. Terms and conditions dey sha o. Get extra value on top no unwrap and win pack. No, eat for good.
You dey find ways to save your data? You go first start with your apps. Delete apps wey you no dey use but other things go still dey. Some apps get data saver modes, make you activate them to control the data usage. You fit also go your setting make you off the auto updates them. Then make you also close apps wey you no dey use to save your data when you no dey use your apps. This small change go fit help you save your data well. For more information, make you go your mobile operator website or consumer.ncc.gov.ng for better tips. Make we dey connect and enjoy our data use well. This message dey come from the Association of Licensed Telecom Operators wey join body with the Nigerian Communication Commission.
There. Yes, you just won 5,000 naira cash, and you sitting by the side. There's 1 month Showmax subscription to watch the Premier League waiting for you. You behind, of course, you're not left out. How does 1,000 naira airtime and 2,000 naira Uber discount sound? All this could come true when you buy the No Unwrap and Win pack. Open it, look for a cube with a 6-digit code on its wrapper. Text the code to 8011 and follow the prompts to stand a chance to win any of these instant prices. Promo valid from July till December. Terms and conditions apply. Get extra value on the Knorr Unwrap and Wing Pack. Knorr, eat for good.
Guys, you need to check your NIN status. I cannot say this enough because the next batch of barring will start again soon. I know some of us have submitted our NIN multiple times, but your NIN has not been linked to your lines. Either because your picture on the MTN portal might be different from the one on your NIMC portal, or you got married and changed your name, or another person registered your line for you when you bought it, or you mistakenly used the wrong date of birth, and many other reasons. But don't worry, MTN has made it easier to link your NIN in just 2 minutes from the comfort of your home, office, or while you are on the move. No need to visit MTN office and join the queue. If you use a smartphone, you can visit nin.mtn.ng or dial *996*4# on your MTN line. Just follow the instruction and you are done in under 2 minutes. Remember, barring will start again very soon. Link your NIN to avoid stories that touch. MTN, what are we doing today?
You dey find ways to save your data? You go first start out with your apps. Delete apps wey you no dey use but other things go still dey. Some apps get data saver modes, make you activate them to control the data usage. You fit also go your setting make you off the auto updates them. Then make you also close apps wey you no dey use to save your data when you no dey use your apps. This small change go fit help you save your data well. For more information, make you go your mobile operator website or consumer.ncc.gov.ng for better tips. Make we dey connect and enjoy our data use well. This message dey come from the Association of Licensed Telecom Operators wey join body with the Nigerian Communication Commission.
There. Yes, you just won 5,000 naira cash. And you, sitting by the side, there's 1 month Showmax subscription to watch the Premier League waiting for you. You behind. Of course, you're not left out. How does 1,000 naira airtime and 2,000 naira Uber discount sound? All this could come true when you buy the Knorr Unwrap and Wing Pack. Open it, look for a cube with a 6-digit code on its wrapper. Text the code to 8011 and follow the prompts to stand a chance to win any of these instant prizes. Promo valid from July till December. Terms and conditions apply. Get extra value on the Knorr Unwrap and Wing Pack. Knorr, eat for good.
You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM.
Things seem anxious and uncertain. I understand the hardship you face. I wish there were other ways, but there's not. If there were,
in our quest to bring to the table issue-based conversation around nationhood and development, we have made 4 to 5:30 p.m. Monday to Friday the perfect time to welcome you into the Situation Room as we continue to build the narrative about public service and accountability.
Mr. President, this Senate needs to know. Mr. President, this Senate needs to lend its voice to the plight of these people. Mr. President, there is nowhere I can say it except here. This is why I'm elected. If I cannot say these things on this floor, sir, I better resign and leave.
As elections give the citizens the chance to make their political decisions, constant demand for quality leadership from those they voted into office.
Look at us, man, there is nothing. We are starving. Tinubu should please do something.
It's also important to having a Nigeria of everyone's dream. Join 𝐴̀kínyòdé as it takes to task seasoned analysts, opinion makers, business professionals, and politicians on issues around politics, policies, governance, and leadership. Every Monday to Friday from 4 to 5:30 p.m. on your super dial. Mainland 98.3 FM will welcome you next as we discuss the situations.
Welcome back and thank you very much for staying with us. By 5:30 the full bulletin would come through, and by 6 o'clock we'll come around to take you through the world of sports on Sport Cruise. But we're back in the Situation Room, and if you're just joining us, I must admit that you've missed the first part of the show from 4 to 5 p.m. We looked at the challenge or the burden of having credible elections in this country on the back of the recently concluded election in Edo State. There were quite a lot of issues after the elections. The PDP, claiming that their candidates, that's Aswa Godala, actually won the election. There was protest in Benin yesterday morning, even on Sunday morning, and as usual, I should expect, and more importantly, as the Constitution provides, you go to court to challenge the legitimacy of whatever results you're not comfortable with, especially when it comes to election issues. Well, Bryce Adams helped us to understand some of those things, and he said, yes, if we're looking at the fundamental challenges of electioneering in Nigeria, the people or the law, he said the law is not the problem, that it is implementing those laws that are actually the problems. Because if we say, let us review the electoral laws, we'll make new laws, we've not even properly implemented the ones that we have on ground to see if they can work or not. So at the end of the day, the people are actually the ones that are saddled with the responsibility of having or giving credible election, and you and I have roles to play in this. We can put all of the blames on the table of INEC, whatever it is we want to say, but we are also individuals that should ask the right questions. Why do you vote? Why did you vote for that candidate you voted for? Was it because you think is competent enough, or because you have tribal affiliation with them? Do you think he's capable enough, or because you have religious bias towards what he stands for? Do you think he's actually credible enough, or is because he's my tribal person, we speak the same language, we are voting for him? So every one of us have roles to play. INEC also have roles to play. The judiciary have roles to play. The political parties have roles to play. The politicians and candidates themselves also have roles to play. So it's a collective responsibility, and we need to stand up to that so that we can have a country that we can be proud of. 64 years in a few days, and we're still talking about election issues. Join us, 0913-600-0410. I'll pick your calls. You can also follow us on X, formerly Twitter, at Mainland FM, on Instagram and YouTube, Mainland 98.3, or you can go on Radio Garden. Download the app and search for Mainland 983, so that if you live in town and you don't want to stream us on Facebook or on YouTube, you can listen to us on Radio Garden. Let me have your thought on this one. Hello, good evening.
How are you, my brother?
You're welcome.
Yeah, Ambassador Musra here from Michigan.
Good to have you join us. 1 minute.
Yeah, okay, I will do that. Look, tell me, your last comment, collective responsibility. To me, I will decide not to blame politician or anybody anymore. Well, you and I, I'm going to blame the people. Look, to me, if the candidate you want, if people are going to want it, because everybody has their own people, you won't be there. And he failed to do the needful for good 4 years. What were you going to do? Sure, this is what I want the guys to just eradicate. Waiting for 4 years, not eating the street. How do we come together and put people on their toes? Look, let us make sure they are the new under the law to deal with politicians. We can do it because when they join of 1,000 miles, they did it with the style. Let's do the right thing. Let's start for their state together. Yes, I governor is don't do the needful. Let them put pressure on their state assembly member. Threaten them to recall. It is possible. People think it's very long, but let's start first. People is going to be long. Let's start.
Thank you.
Yes, the issue. Politicians are what to say.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It is our duty to fix whatever it is that we have and we think we should fix. So, PDP said they want to retain power. The APC said they want to reclaim power. At the end of the day, it looks like one is not going to retain, the other party has reclaimed. Hello, good afternoon. Or good evening, rather. Good evening.
Good evening. This is Moses from Surulere.
You're welcome. 1 minute. Let's have your thoughts.
Yes, I believe strongly that electorate, we the people, should be given strong awareness. This is it not Nigerian orientation? Something I don't know whether
Nigerian Orientation Agency.
They should continue to give us, even as the rural areas, the reason, the meaning of election, why we should go and vote, why we should vote someone that is good. It's not the way this Nigeria the orientation that is dead. I don't know why. This is the problem. I don't know why. So we should tell them to educate people the reason for putting somebody there. Yes, that is my contribution.
Thank you very much. It is not the duty of NOA to campaign, but they can and they should sensitize the people so that they make their choices along informed lines. Hello, good evening, Mickey Weze. You're welcome. Good, and you?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I said, you remember on this platform, I said that we want transparent, credible election in this country. We should start from this.
Mickey Weze, I'm struggling to hear you. Can you speak up?
Okay, I said, are you hearing me better
Yeah,
now?
very clear now.
Yeah, I said, if we want a credible election in this country, that it will start from the intra-election. Now we are complaining there was vote buying in the election, there was rigging and all this. But all this vote buying started from the primary. Didn't we see how PDP did their primary? Didn't we see the APC primary? Money was freely shared. So why would we come crying now when it comes to the final election? That is how we run our things here. We go to the 2023 election. All the presidential candidates were sharing dollars. And they are the one ruling us as we speak right now. So what do you expect? If anybody is telling me that our law is not the problem, our law is the problem. The president is too powerful. The position of the president of this country is too powerful. The president is the one, it's his body language, let me use that word, that will decide what INEC will do. His body language will decide what the legislations will do. The judiciary, everything, because why? Everything is anchored on the president. But if we have a very good institution, have a good laws that whosoever you are, even if you are Satan, when you get there, you cannot be able to do anything.
Thank you.
According to the law.
Thank you.
So things will fall in place. So that is it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let me read your messages on Facebook. And Michael Lohias on Facebook says the Edo election was predetermined. If you can recall, the 2020 governorship election in Edo State under the former President Buhari, there was no controversy to the extent that the APC could not even challenge the outcome of the election in court. Nigeria is gradually returning to a one-party state which could lead to dictatorship and authoritarianism. That is Mike from United States. Kike Lori says the nation are still moving in circle. The people are still allowing politicians to buy their votes. That is why the country is still in one place. Okay, and this one says until the people of the country decide who they want to govern them, the INEC could not do the right things. People should make their political decisions based on the belief of credibility and competence. Otherwise, the country would also not make progress. Okay, thank you very much. Ralph Wall AGK says, without electoral reforms, we're wasting our time in the name of election. A country where a sitting president would boldly tell his party members that it would give them back their state. Like, how do we grow with this? Funny enough, we're heading to a one-party system in this country. Okay. Tochukwu Adele says, does the military announce when it wants to come take over from civilians? If no, why did President Tinubu boast in his words that I'm the president of the Republic of Nigeria, I shall return Edo State gubernatorial election to the APC? Then thereafter, the people got mesmerized with the arrant falsehood of some Edo gubernatorial elections. Is it because of the immunity that he has remained at large? Okay, it's frustrating and it's breaking down the rule of law and not the, okay, I mean that's a bit mixed up, but I got your message. Let me also quickly pick some calls. Hello, good evening.
I've been waiting for you.
You're welcome, Prince Wise.
Thank you, my dear. You see, the culture of the Black politicians, the whole the water they are in. But my saying this, from primary of every political party, the mago. and when it comes to re-election, how will they agree with the INEC? If the agent becomes chairman of INEC in this country, the local never agree with. Look at the.
Prince Wise, I'm struggling to hear you, and I appreciate if you can call us back before we say our goodbyes on the show. Good evening to you and the barrister in the studio. The electoral process in the country is completely destroyed. Poverty has been weaponized. Vote buying has become a commonplace in our polity. The highest bidder gets the vote. Our security agencies are not even helping matters. They have sworn allegiance to the ruling party, making electoral fraud seamless. Nigeria needs strict electoral laws to curb this menace. That's Okari Emmanuel from Ikotun. Okay. This is Chima from Sᴜᴜ, and he says, don't let us deceive ourselves. Elections over the years shows that votes don't count. Someone in Rivers State told us our election results were written by them and given to SEC to read. That is Chima from Sᴜᴜ. Okay. Ifeanyi Asheshe says, on elections in the rural areas, two things always happen. Many lost hope on governance due to the absence of infrastructures, and to worse stuff, there's no form of communication. Secondly, when they try to come out, only the village head takes the lion's share to convince others to vote for a choice. Politicians have succeeded in impoverishing many average citizens, thereby forcing them to take peanuts for a 4-year tenure. Time to factory reset this country politically is now. Okay. I think the biggest fraud we have as far as electoral laws are concerned is allowing the so-called winners to remain in office while the case is being persecuted. All election disputes are supposed to be disposed on or before swearing of the winner. That is what is applicable in Kenya. Elder Godwin Emechukwu from Ogun State. Olufumla from Bagada says, what does Barrister Adams has as an educational platform that one can volunteer? Okay. Barrister Adams, that's a question for you. Please, does Barrister Adams have an educational platform that one can volunteer? I am interested. Okay, that's Olufumilayo from Bagada. Olamileko from Lagos says, I watched today on national TV in the morning that the president had just launched the approval of 40 houses for the judges. Remember, they just increased the salary by 300%. Like they say, loyalty to this government. Okay. Thank you. Let me pick your calls. Hello, good evening. Welcome to the show.
Can you hear me now?
I think it's better, Prince Wise. Go on. Ooh, Prince Wise. I don't know what is going on, but the network is not kind to you. Hello, Obi. Good evening.
Okay, good evening. How are you doing, my
I'm
brother?
good.
My greatest friend in this thing is so-called professors. The people that are tutoring our children.
The returning officers.
The whole Yakub Mohammed, what of that? What is this Igbo man? Morisi was a professor. Yakubu, professor. The returning officers and lecturers are there. Look at what they are doing to Nigeria. So if they are giving money for something, you must take the money and commit Nigeria to this problem we are seeing today. But we are all in for it. Let them continue. Because I don't know how Nigeria, how we're going to do this going ahead. But take care of yourself, my brother.
Thank you very much, Obi, for joining the conversation. Well, the academia would always be involved in the election. We can't change that. We certainly would not change that. But it's obvious that from the messages I've read, the calls I've picked, the people seems to be losing interest in the election of this country. What can we do to remedy the situation? 2027 is very much upon us. Talk to us about that as we say our goodbyes on the show today.
Well, I think INEC, government, yourself, everybody, is a collective responsibility.
True.
I do not agree with the penultimate speaker that say that is beginning to lose interest in the system. You don't lose interest in what is yours. It is your primary responsibility to ensure, because the constitution have said that it is your right to vote. Freedom is not given voluntarily. In a civil society like ours, the provisions of the constitution is supreme, and we should not allow the politicians to hijack it. We are getting there. The build-up to 2027 have started already. So we must not allow these people to continue to take advantage of the system, because the system is decaying.
By Mr. Give me a minute. Let me pick these calls. Hello, good evening.
Good evening,
Mr. Lakule. You're welcome.
You said it repeatedly. INEC is not our problem. Politicians are our problem. What you give INEC is what INEC gives out to you. So if there's any problem you have with what is given to INEC, that is where we have to look at. And when people repeatedly blame INEC, I just continue to laugh, because the problem they have are not why results are not what they should be. Because people generally have become very unaccepting to losing now. They don't want to lose. And anytime they lose is when they shout the most. If they had won this election, we would be hearing, oh, judiciary is the best and all of that. I think people need to calm down and understand that when you lose, you go back home, you reset and come back and fight. It is a game. Politics has nothing to do with emotions. You get your best legs and you get your best people and put things right. And lastly, what Barrister said about looking at a way where we make 50% vote. What you are going to do by making 50% vote is that you are going to weaponize money the more. Because all I need to do is ensure that I get 25% of people that I pay, and they will ensure they will not vote. So that election will not count. So rather, we should wake up and tell people to get out and vote if they feel it is important. You write exam because you feel exams is important for you. You go to eat because you know when you eat, it will nourish your body to make you better. So we will not beg you to vote. If you like, don't vote. If 1,000 people vote and they rule you, good luck to you. Thank you very much and God bless.
Well, that was straight to the point. But in all of the things you've been saying, you've made it clear that the people need to respect what the law says in terms of election. But more importantly, it is their duties to perform. So do we really need to beg the people to come vote?
We don't need to beg any people, but you agree with me that the law is well certain that INEC is there. You and I, everybody, we owe that duty to ourselves to ensure that we continue to push further the awareness. We're not begging, but we're making it, we're putting a burden to the system, which is to say that we continue to educate people on their rights. Yes, because you need to sell out your candidate, and in that process you are trying to convince a candidate. You are trying to convince the voters as to the competency of your candidate. So you are not begging, you are campaigning. And INEC is there as a body that ensure that these rules and regulations are complied with. So we don't need to, Nigerians don't need to beg, or the government don't need to beg anybody to come out to vote. But we must continue to educate Nigerians on their rights, because it is a constitutional right. And this right is very, very important. Whether we like it or not, this right is going to affect the school fees you will pay.
Affect the food you will buy.
The food that you will buy.
True.
It will affect the transportation. It will affect everything. And that is why it's very important we continue to educate people on this right, for them to come out. Because other rights, they can take it for granted. But this right is a very, very important and vital right in the Constitution, because it affects all aspects.
Thank you so much, Barrister Adams Atta. He's a public affairs analyst. Of course, he's a lawyer, like you heard in the name. And more importantly, he's a social community and human resource manager. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. He joins us every last and first Tuesdays of every month. So God willing, all things being equal, he should be with us next week Tuesday as well. That's about the size of the package. Stick with us by 5:30 for the full bulletin, and by 6 o'clock I will come back with my sport gang to give everything you need to know in the world of sport. My name is Ōkpeyèmí Akinde. Stay safe and keep your dial locked only on mainland 98.3 FM, because we are the sound of Lagos. The full bulletin in a few seconds. Stick with us.
Mainland
98.3 FM. Don't touch the dial. 98.3 FM. Don't touch the dial.
This is the Global News on 98.3 Mainland FM.
Good evening. Welcome to the Global News at 5:30 on Mainland 98.3 FM. In the highlights, act swiftly to address economic hardship, WG=KALU urges Tinubu. CBN raises interest rate to 27.25%. In sports, Zidane's son, Enzo, retires from football at 29. Now the news in detail. I'm Omobola Sandra. Former Abia Governor and Senator representing Abia North, WG=KALU, has urged President Bola Tinubu to swiftly address the economic hardship affecting Nigerians. KALU made the call on Tuesday during a press briefing at the National Assembly, stressing the urgency of the situation. The former Abia State Governor expressed concern over the increasing suffering among Nigerians, attributing the hardship to recent economic reforms. While acknowledging the removal of the fuel subsidy as a bold move by Tinubu, KALU emphasized the need for the president to reconsider the decision in light of its impact on the populace. KALU commended President Tinubu's courage in implementing economic reforms but called for quicker relief measures. In a dramatic turn of events at the Federal High Court in Abuja, Justice Binta Nyako announced her decision to step down from the trial of Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. The announcement followed Kanu's open request for the judge to recuse herself, citing the court's failure to comply with a Supreme Court order. At the resumed hearing on Tuesday, September 24th, Kanu expressed his dissatisfaction with the court, asserting that he has lost confidence in the judicial process. He requested that Justice Nyako recuse herself from this trial, a demand that she quickly agreed to. This decision effectively halts the ongoing trial where Kanu is facing terrorism-related charges brought by the federal government. Tensions ran high during the proceedings as Kanu ordered his lawyer, Aloy Ejimakor, to sit down while he made his case before the court. Despite efforts from the prosecution, led by Senior Advocate of Nigeria, SAN, Adegboyega Awomolo, to persuade Justice Nyako to continue the trial, the judge stood firm in her decision. Kanu's trial remains uncertain as the case awaits reassignment to a new judge. Now, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria has voted to increase the monetary policy rate, which measures the benchmark interest rate, to 27.25%. The monetary policy rate is the baseline interest rate in an economy. Addressing journalists at an ongoing